Hello everyone, Alex is here. Last week I made a video giving you 10 reasons why the Sony A7IV is one of the best cameras for video. Today I will do a part 2 of that video giving you another 10 reasons why you should buy this camera for photos. Without further ado, let's start with the first and most obvious one, 33 megapixel resolution. I know most of you are going to say 24 was more than enough. Well, more is better, right? And I think 33 is a sweet spot between performance and file size. So now you have the ability to crop more, and when you use Super 35 mode, the resolution will drop to 14 megapixel instead of 10 in the previous generation. And the reason number 2 is the autofocus. I talked about how amazing the autofocus is in the first part of this video. If you didn't watch it, make sure to do after you finish this one, to have a better idea about this camera before you consider it as an option. I mentioned that the autofocus is more than enough to upgrade or buy the A7IV. So it has a real eye tracking for human, animals and birds, and it works super fast and accurate, and you can completely rely on it. I don't remember me using manual focus after I bought this camera. Moving to the reason number 3, the third-party lenses. This is not a reason to upgrade to the Sony A7IV specifically, but it's more to consider Sony system overall. And this is a really underrated feature of Sony cameras that will give you versatility to have great lenses such as Sigma and Tamron. Here are some samples I took using my favorite Sigma 105 f1.4. The reason number 4 is the color science. It got a lot of upgrades over the last 2 generations, and it can finally stand head to head with Canon color science. Combined with 14 bits raw photos, it will give you a huge flexibility to work on the colors and the exposure in post. And the reason number 5 is 10 FPS Burst mode. A lot of people are upset about it, but honestly it's more than enough to take some cool dynamic photos, and it's a good upgrade over the 6 FPS on the Sony A7 III. Although you should consider that 10 frames will only work on JPEG or compressed RAW. So if you wanna shoot uncompressed, you will only get 6 FPS. And the reason number 6 is the new menu system. I can't stress how different they are from each other, especially that I moved from the A7 II to the A7IV. Everything is labeled and organized in a way to understand the menu, even if you moved from another camera system, like Nikon or Canon. Add to that you can use the touch now on the menu, unlike the previous A7 III. Moving to number 7, the customizing dial. So we don't have an exposure dial anymore that most of the people barely use. Instead, there is a customizable one that you can set it the way you like. Personally, I use it for white balance to have all the 4 main factor elements set on dials. But if you prefer the old exposure dial, you can customize it that way as well. They also add a save button on the top to make sure to not hit it by mistake. Moving to reason number 8, the closing shutter. Sony added this feature to the Alpha one first, and they decided to add it also to their all new cameras. However, this feature is like a double-edged sword. On one side, you can protect your sensor from the dust, and it's really effective. I barely had any dust on my sensor after using this camera for 9 months. On the other hand, it's super fragile, so make sure, and I mean it in every possible way, to not touch it, because fixing the shutter is not easy and it costs a fortune. Moving to the reason number 9, which is the flip screen. I know a lot of photographers prefer the tilt screen, but this is a hybrid camera, so it's made to serve both photographers and videographers equally. And having a flip screen is not bad for photos, but it's super useful for videos. And I made sure to explain why in the first part of this video. Make sure to check it out. Myself, I prefer it even for photos, because I'm a portrait photographer, and most of the photos I take for Instagram is vertical. So having the ability to shoot from a really low angle is something you can only do using a flip screen. Moreover, it has a better screen quality than the previous generation, but it's still not the best by any means. Last but not least, and the reason number 10, is the design. Overall, I'm gonna talk about all the great things about this camera's design. Starting with 5 customizable buttons, 2 memory card slots with one of it being CF Express Type A, the much improved hand grip over the A7 III, photo and video dial to set different settings for filming or shooting stills on set, fast power delivery charging via USB-C, full HDMI port, and the list goes on. Although this camera is packed with a lot of great features, but I don't think it's a necessary upgrade for everyone. So make sure to check if there's any of the features I mentioned is a game changer before you consider the A7 IV. For example, if you're moving from the A7 III and you are a hybrid shooter, this camera is 100% worth the upgrade. However, if you're a photographer jumping from the A7 III, it's not gonna be a huge upgrade for you. Anyway, now you know all the new features for stills. Make sure to check all the new features for videos as well, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell, and see you guys next time.